Hi, my name is Siim and I work as digital policy advisor to our Prime Minister and government. So my role is to coordinate IT policy making and execution in our government, and setting the strategy is a very big part of that. So in the next section, or this section, I will talk about what is our Estonian government's current digital strategy, how do we plan to take digital government forward in our country. And so basically I'm talking about our National Digital Agenda 2020. And as a context, I should say that we get asked this a lot in Estonia that, is everything ready? And we always say that, e-government or digital government is never ready. I mean, there's always more and more to do, especially as technology keeps going forward. And so where we plan to take our country and our government in the next few years is that, first of all, we still have lots to do on developing further sort of the enabling factors for digital government building. So be it internet access. So we still are currently building, let's say, faster internet broadband networks around the country, or be that skills. There's constantly something to do on upgrading the skills. For example, back in the days, we used to train people and raise their awareness about how to use internet in the first place. These days, our focus is a lot more about how to go securely online. So if you are online, how to be securely there, so that, again, you will not have cyber threats or cyber risks prevalent. But beyond that, to really talk about, let's see, what's the plan in digital government, then if I were to sum it up in two words, we are thinking in the terms of invisible government. So what I mean by that is that currently, as has been the paradigm in Estonia and many other countries, a lot of the services are available sort of on request. You send in some application for which there is a nice and convenient online service, but still you have to get some things done. But with analytics, but even more with collaboration and shared platforms, we could rather envision a digital government where exactly things are there waiting for you and ready for you when you need them. So to give an example, when my child is born, basically the government knows it already, because in Estonian case, the hospital immediately sort of makes an entry to population registry for the child. And as such, the government actually knows the next 5 steps or so that I will want to take. I will want to name the child, apply for parental benefit, put the child in kindergarten queue, and so forth. So currently this means 5 different services, 5 different applications, 5 different steps that I have to take. They can be nice and convenient, but at the same time still there's a bit of hassle for me. So instead, perhaps the government can send an email and say, hey, congratulations on the baby. What's the name of the child? Do you want the benefit? So exactly make this kind of transaction more proactive, and by having the government to more work in the background, we could make the service much easier for our people and companies. And there doesn't even have to be much analytics involved. So again, this sort of live event kind of services proactively offered in unison without sort of silos between departments, they can be very easy to figure out. But of course, if you bring big data and the world of Internet of Things to the game, well, there's even more we could do on that front. So a lot what we see as a sort of second direction is to get smarter how we do things in our government. Through the services, through years of digital government building, we have lots of data in our hands, but we haven't used it perhaps enough. So the next step for us is also to be really sort of relying more on analytics in small data, both big data, and through that make better policy decisions as well as better service delivery. But there's one more thing that we're thinking about a lot is when we look at our neighboring countries and sort of other sort of governments in the world, it's very easy to get stuck in legacy. So sort of third aspect in digital government, sort of future we are thinking about is something we call no legacy policy. So we are thinking about how to set up the framework and even legal rules that every now and then, say every 10 years, everybody in government would have to reform, redesign, rebuild their systems and services. So you cannot remain sitting on old technology, on old procedures, on legacy. And the idea is that legacy becomes very costly, and at the same time you miss out on new technological opportunities. So exactly, let's have some rules, have a framework that would basically make us innovate if we don't do it faster anyway. Fourth direction that we see for the future is that currently a lot of the services in digital government has been very sort of territory based, which means that even in, for example, European Union, where we have a single market, when the capital flows, people move between countries, companies move between countries, but data and services, they stop at the borders. But as people are moving, as companies are moving, well, they would want the services and data to move with them. So we are now talking with a lot with our European colleagues and our neighboring countries how to have really cross-border services, cross-border data exchange, so that it would be easier for people and companies to move around. And so we're not just talking about this, we have also started work in this direction. For example, with Finland, we have done already lots of work to make our digital signatures mutually usable. So, for example, in December 2013, we had the Prime Minister of Estonia and Prime Minister of Finland mutually sign an intergovernmental agreement. So if our governments accept each other's digital signatures, well, everybody can do the same. And so now we can say that exactly there's an opportunity to mutually sign things between our two countries. Should make it much easier for companies to even run business between our two countries at least. Similarly, we are in talks to have a data exchange between agencies in Estonia and Finland so that people don't have to bring papers around if they move from one country to another. And these things, we are looking forward to scale them on European level at least. But our fifth direction in digital government sense is that if we don't make cross-border services happen fast enough, we are very happy to welcome all digital service users and those who want to lead a sort of digital lifestyle to become virtually Estonian. So we have launched something we call e-residency, which basically is that anybody in the world can apply to get our electronic identity card, and through that have access to the great, easy, nice and nicely used and easy to use digital services offered by private sector as well as public sector. So the whole idea is that if you want to live a hassle-free life, especially if you're in business and transnational business, well, now's your chance. You just apply for the card, you become Estonian e-resident, and you don't even have to be physically here to make use of the nice sort of easy business environment here. So e-residency is taking us, at least in Estonia, to something we call a country without borders. So the whole idea is that to offer the services, governments don't have to be limited to national sort of physical borders anymore, but rather we could exactly open up to the wide world and to the global audience. So we hope that in the next few years, we really sort of make progress on these sort of directions, and I'm sure there's even more to come.